Today's lesson is 9.5, Multiplying Polynomials. For example 1, we are going to use the distributive property to remove the parentheses, and then we're going to make sure that we simplify our answer as much as possible. So let's go ahead and take the expression that is outside of the parentheses, and let's distribute it to each one inside the parentheses. So I'm going to distribute it here and here. For the first one in blue, I'm going to do 8y squared times 10y to the 7th. So this was my first multiplication. And then for the next one, I'm going to do 8y squared times 9y. Now notice I am not using any plus or minus between them because the sign of this multiplication is going to determine what symbol goes here, plus or minus. All right, let's go ahead and multiply. Now for the first blue parenthesis, we're going to go ahead and multiply 8 times 10. 8 times 10 is 80. And then I have to remember what I can do to the y squared times the y to the 7th. Since they both have the same base of y, the rule says when you are multiplying the bases, you can add the exponent. So when they multiply by the same base, you can add the exponent. So that's what I'm going to get here. I just noticed that I said 80, but I only wrote 8. There we go. 8 times 10 is 80. So I would end up with 80y to the 9th. Now for the second one, the purple parenthesis, I'm going to go ahead and multiply 8 times 9, which is 72. And I have y squared times y. Now I have to remember with that second y that there is an exponent of 1, and the same rule applies when you're multiplying by the same base. You can add the exponents together. So I get 72y cubed, or y to the 3rd power. Since my 72 is positive, I'm going to put a plus in between them, and this is my simplified answer. All right, let's take a look at example 2. Rewrite without parentheses. Now this problem is actually exactly the same as the one that we just did. Excuse me. We're going to go ahead and we're going to distribute first to here. So I'm going to do negative 5c d to the 4th power times 9c to the 5th power d to the 3rd power. And then let me put that in one parentheses. And then I'm going to multiply that negative 5cd to the 4th power times this. So negative 5cd to the 4th power times, I'm going to call it negative 8c to the 6th power. That way I can use the multiplication here to determine what symbol goes in between my two parentheses. All right, now some things that I'm going to go ahead and add before I start. I'm going to go right here and add a 1, and then I'm going to go right here and add a 1 as well, because whenever I have just a c or a d or an x without an exponent, it is implied to be 1. All right, so I'm going to multiply negative 5 times positive 9. Negative 5 times positive 9 is negative 45. I have c to the 1st power times c to the 5th power. The rule says when you multiply by the same base, you can add the exponents. And then I also have d to the 4th times d to the 3rd. When I multiply by the same base, I can add the exponents. Now notice that I cannot add all of the exponents. I can only add the 2 for the c and the 2 for the d. So I end up with negative 45, c to the 4th power, d to the 7th power. All right, let's take a look at the next one. I'm going to multiply negative 5 times negative 8, which does give me positive 40. I have c to the 1st times c to the 6th. Because they are the same bases, I can add the exponents. And then I have times d to the 4th, and there's nothing to add with it, so it's just going to stay d to the 4th. My final answer would be 40, c to the 7th power, d to the fourth power. That is a positive 40, so I'm going to put a plus in between my two terms, and there's my final answer. All right, so that was just a distributing. Now we're going to move into when I have a longer polynomial. Example number 3 is asking us to rewrite without parentheses and simplify. You need to be careful with this one. Whenever you see a parenthesis that is raised to the second power, what's really going on here is you have 2 of that parenthesis, okay? So you have to first think of it like this. And I'm going to show you 2 ways that you can do this. You can do double distributing, which means you can take the 5x and multiply it to both, and then take the negative 6u and multiply it to both. Okay, so you can double distribute. And let me go ahead and show you that. So the first purple would be 5x times 5x. And then we would have, oh, I hope I have enough room, 5x times negative 6u. The first blue would be negative 6u times 5x. And then the last one would be negative 6u times negative 6u. All right, all these ones have ones. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, so for the first purple parenthesis, I'm going to do 5 times 5, 25. Oops, that's not 25, that's 2x, 25. And then I have x. Remember, because they are the same, I can go ahead and add the 1 plus 1, which gives me x squared. The next one, I would get 5 times negative 6 is negative 30, and then it's xu. I would put it in this order simply because that's what it is. That's how I read it, but you could put it ux, it doesn't matter. The next one would be negative 6 times 5, negative 30. And since I chose xu, I'm going to leave it as xu, even though it looks like ux, because they are the same. And then for the last blue, it's going to be negative 6 times negative 6, which is positive 36. U and u I can add together to be u squared. Notice that right here in the middle, these two are exactly the same. They are like terms. Let me just go ahead and quick change my color, and I can add those two together. So my final answer would be 25x squared. Negative 30 plus negative 30 would be negative 60xu or ux plus 36x squared. Okay, that would be my final answer. What you could also do is you could use the box method to multiply. You could use what is called the box method to multiply, which means you're going to make a box. There we go. And you're going to split this box into the terms that your parentheses have. So my parentheses have 2 terms. So I'm going to split it right like this. And I'm going to put the 5x here, and I'm going to put the negative 6u here. Since there is a square, remember there are 2 of those boxes, so I'm going to split it again in this direction. I must always split it up and down and left to right. And then this is just working like your lattice multiplication. You're going to multiply 5x times 5x. You're going to multiply 5x, because it matches here, 5x times negative 6u. Notice that you're seeing the same things that we just had. Negative 6u times 5x. Because remember, it is a square. And what we learned in geometry is, well, it's not a square, it's a rectangle. This side and this side are the same, this side and this side are the same. All right, and for the last one, negative 6u times negative 6u. Notice I see all of the terms here in my box that I see right here in my double distributing. What I like about the box is that these 2 terms right here are always going to be the like terms, and I'm going to go ahead and circle them, and I like that the box is telling me add them together. The box is telling me right there in the middle to add them together. And if you notice, if I write down my answer to this one, I get exactly the same answer as I would, or as I did when I did the double distributing. So either way, I get the same answer. Just another method for how to solve. All right, our last example is showing you multiplying a trinomial times a binomial. It is your choice how you'd like to do it. If you want to do the double distributing, you've got to distribute the 4x to each one, and then you got to distribute the 3 to each one. Okay, so it is quite a bit of multiplying. I'm going to show you that box method again because I really like the box method. I like that it reminds me to add, and I like that it puts my like terms together. So notice I've made my box a little bit bigger. That's because the first parentheses has 3 terms. So I'm going to make it into 7x squared minus 6x minus 2. And then those minuses become like a negative when I start to multiply. And then as I go across this way, the second parentheses only has the 4x and the 3. If you want to, you could put a plus here to remind yourself that it's positive, but remember, we don't have to. All right, let's multiply. 4x times 7x squared. So 4 times 7 would be 28. X squared plus another x would give me 3. Right here, I would do negative 6x times 4x. Negative 6 times 4 is negative 24, and x times x is x squared. Negative 2 times 4x. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8, and there is an x with the 4, so it's got to come inside as well. For the bottom row, 7x squared times 3. 7 times 3 is 21x squared. Notice right here are my 2 like terms, and the box says add them together. For my next one, I have negative 6x times 3. Negative 6 times 3 is negative 18x. And these two right here are going to be like terms, and the box is once again saying add these two together. Not all 4 of them, just the 2 that I've circled. And for my final box, I've got negative 2 times positive 3, which is negative 6. What I also like about the box is once I have multiplied, I know that my answer starts here. This is where I'm going to start, and this is where I'm going to end. This would be first, this addition would be second, this one would be third, and this one would be fourth in my final term. It's always going to work that way. Sometimes, but I don't think Alex is going to do this to you. Sometimes these two they are not like terms and they don't add together. In that case, you would just have to make sure that you are in standard form, decreasing exponential order. So my answer is going to be 28x to the third minus 3x squared. Negative 24 plus 21 is negative 3, minus 26x, negative 8 plus negative 18, and finally negative 6.